Let's talk about it. Each Friday at this time, hosts Dennis O'Brien and Susan Johnson interview guests who are involved in their community. The show challenges conventional thoughts, probes for answers, remembers the past, imagines the future, and gets to the heart of the matter. Let's Talk About It is brought to you by Columbia Ford Kia, Route 6 in Columbia, Connecticut, and Gates GMC Nissan, Route 66, the Boston Post Road, North Windham, USA. Opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of WILI staff, management, or sponsors. Now, let's join our hosts with their guests, and let's talk about it.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About It. I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and our very, very special guest this evening, who is going to tell us all about our Memorial Day weekend, Joe Tomanelli. And you have done so many great things with the Greater Wyndham Veterans Council, and you've been so involved in making sure that we have a great opportunity to recognize and take care of our veterans that took care of us and gave their all. And that's why we celebrate and recognize Memorial Day as that day where people spent their time and life giving their all to America. So welcome, Joe.
Well, thank you, Susan. It's a privilege, and it's a privilege to be part of what happens in Wyndham, a wonderful, wonderful town with an enormous history, meaningful history, and so many wonderful people. I enjoy being part of things here.
Well, we're so thrilled that you're here and that you're doing a lot of the things that have been done in the past as well. 70 years now, the Greater Wyndham Veterans Council has been here. And I know back in the day, when I first started coming to events here in town, when I first moved to town, we had Andy Carey, we had John Lesko, we had, and we still do have, Woody Woodbury, who has also been extremely active and busy, making sure everybody gets together and recognizes our veterans who served and gave their all.
That's a great point, because there are so many towns where people come and go, and Wyndham is so fortunate to have people who have made their lives here, made their livings here, and continue to serve the town and the local events for their entire lives. Bill, I think he's been 30 years for the town of Wyndham as the Veterans Advisor. And Andy Carey, as far as I know, lived his whole life here.
Yes, he did.
And John Lesko as well. So that's, for me, that's what makes it special, is to meet these men and to see what service is about and to be able to carry on their legacy.
And so, and also we can't leave out Joe Marsalisi, who has been a big part of making sure that we have all the equipment. And he's also a veteran. And right here, Dennis O'Brien, also a veteran. But, we're talking, of course, Memorial Day is about the veterans who served and passed away serving our country in war. But, this is also something where whenever you're involved in the war, in the military, you're always risking your life.
I'd like to bring up a point that I was thinking about today. I know Dennis will be able to speak to this. To the listening audience, imagine if you graduated high school and that was the end of your life.
Right.
You did not get to go and find a job, meet the person of your dreams, settle down and have a family, have a house, be part of local sports groups or local music groups or arts functions. That's what Memorial Day is all about. And I at times, I just wonder how many people think about that. I know that so many people in Wyndham come out and support Memorial Day. So many people support the veterans all year long. But I just wonder how many people think about the fact that some of these men, that was the end of their life.
Right.
At 18 or at 20. And I don't know, Dennis.
Yeah, I think about that. I knew people who who went over to Vietnam and didn't come back, and I've looked for people that I served with that went to Nam. That probably I was fortunate in a way in that I was I started in the military in October of '64, and October of '64 at that time. I believe the draft was not, there was no number system. The draft, they were not drafting college students. I was not a college student at the time. They were not drafting married men. And then there was something that happened in the spring of '65 at a place called Pleiku in Vietnam. It was overrun by the VC, probably in combination. I can't remember all the details of the North Koreans, and that was when the war really blew up, and that's when they changed the conscription. They went to there were no more college deferments. There were no more deferments for being not for being married. That was not, there were no more deferments for that. And Vietnam was a 12-month hitch. And you had to have you probably, if you were a U.S. like I was U.S. 2102975. Still remember blood type B on my dog tags. Never forget it. Never forget being in the military. Met a lot of great guys, a lot of great people, a lot of great women too. And that I was at Fort Dix for basic in the winter. I was fortunate to be in very good condition, playing a lot of basketball.
Sure.
And the physical part of it did not affect me at all. But what affected me mostly was being told what to do all the time. I wasn't used to that.
Sure.
And you know what? It made me a much better person.
Yeah.
And the military made me a much better person. It was good for me. I didn't realize that as much as I do now, and came to realize it as I grew older. But it was a turning point in my life. And I ended up going to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for a while. And then I got a reassignment to Fort Devens, Mass. So I did all my time stateside. And by the time, once you hit 12 months, the chance of you being shipped out, put on levy, they call it, to Nam was small.
Okay.
Because you were less than 12 months. And, I remember going around post, and people would go around post, people who had less, their time was shorter than mine. They call you a short timer if you don't have much time left. And people would walk around and say, I'm short 2 months, and you'd see that. And I don't think I ever did that. I didn't gloat about it. But I wanted to do my time and finish my service, and then I had plans to go to Yukon. I was accepted into Yukon, and I did. I went. And it was, it just made me, maximize my whatever abilities I had, and it was a great thing. And I met so many great guys, and I knew guys that had been in Nam, came back, and wanted to go back, and did go back.
Wow.
And I played ball with some guys in a really good basketball team, 2 All-Staters in New Jersey, and I can't find them on the internet. And I hope they made it through. I don't know, that makes me wonder, And you're right. I mean, I thought about it. I thought about my life being shortened like that, or anybody else's. And it's, and I wasn't a big fan of the war, to be honest. Even back then, I really am not much into violence for any purpose, but war is a problem for me. But it was the military. I respect so much people who serve in the military, and I love getting together on Memorial Day with other people who have served, whether they the people that went to war. Wow, I respect them so much. Sure, and I respect them all. But I just it was a great time for me, but it was a difficult time, and it was. Fortunately, I learned so much and had so many good friends. And when I left, I almost felt bad about leaving some of the people I worked with. And it was. But I had plans, and I followed those plans, and here I am, still here, and I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones. Sure. I didn't. I didn't get my life cut short like that. And like so many who served, and there were so many people who died in the Vietnam War. It was so sad. Yeah,
you'd never know what your military service is going to bring.
No.
I remember being very nervous in high school, thinking that I was going to get drafted, and then the the war was over by the time I graduated, but I still
74.
wanted to do my time in the military. My father was in Korea.
Yeah.
My grandfather fought for Italy against Libya in 1912.
Wow.
My son Alexander is in Japan as an IT specialist on the USS Blue Ridge, and he's a search and rescue swimmer. And my son Peter is a captain in the Army Guard, and he is in helicopter training in Alabama. So our family has a history of service, and it means a great, great deal to our family. I realize that it's not everyone's legacy, and I appreciate and respect that. But
Yep.
I was very fortunate, as you were, that I did not have to go overseas
Yep.
and fight in a war. But nevertheless, we're both very proud of our service
Yep,
and the
definitely.
fact that we got to serve our country regardless of the circumstances, because I feel that by serving, you honor those who came before you.
Absolutely.
And I'm so thankful for everyone who serves. And of course, in my family, as I've mentioned, probably almost every Memorial Day and every Veterans Day, that my father served during World War II. My grandfather served during World War I, both in the Navy. Of course, a husband, I just got through talking about his service in the Army. And then I have two uncles that were served during World War II in the Air Force. And then, of course, Dennis, you had an uncle that served in the Air Force during World
My
War
uncle
II.
was a Navy flyer.
Yeah.
And he was he got the Distinguished Flying Cross because he shot down a kamikaze pilot.
Yeah.
As he was taking off on a mission, he spotted a kamikaze pilot coming, and he showed us films, videos of him taking off from aircraft carriers, and but he never talked about that. And when he died, there was a big article in the Current about him, and I cried. I mean, it was just so, I have the utmost respect for anybody who's been to war.
Sure. My wife's mother's brother was a pilot, and in World War II, and he shot off the thumb of a very famous German pilot.
An ace, probably.
An ace,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
an ace.
Yeah.
And of course, he passed, and the German ace had come to America.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked around, and he asked if he could meet the pilot who shot his thumb off.
Wow.
But he had passed.
My.
But the ace
Yeah.
came and met the family.
Yep.
And and he talked with them, and he told them what a word of the opponent.
Wow.
My mother-in-law's brother was, and we have that in a book, and we have a picture of him, and
That's amazing.
It's amazing to talk with Jan, my wife Jan's family, about that, because her three brothers were also, two of them were Top Guns in the Air Force, and one works in the Pentagon. Again, it's a family thing, and
Yeah.
we think about those in our families who were there.
Well,
Yeah,
I have a problem with violence, and I remember when Susan, when I met Susan, she told me about her dad being in the Pacific in World War II, and the movie came out later on, much later on probably, when Saving Private Ryan.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't want to see it because I didn't want to watch. I knew it was violent. I didn't want to watch it. And she said, "No, you should see it." And I did. And I'll tell you, it did bring tears to my eyes just watching. And I said, my God, I think about it every day. When I was in the probate court, I used to check obituaries and written to where I'm from and in the local paper, because you do that when you're a probate judge, and because you have to deal with those cases. And I. Every time I see one where somebody who has been a World War II veteran or any war veteran, I see how they have passed away. It makes me sad, but it also makes me feel good about the military and about the honor it was to serve in the military, and the honor that these people have set such a standard for the rest of us in terms of what they have done, and what they whether they died in war or whether they died at age 90. I mean, they were, I love watching it when the veterans go the punch bowl and the cemetery.
Yes.
In Hawaii, and we were there, or also to the cemeteries on the, in Brittany, and on the coast of, there where the D-Day happened, and see the 100-year-old veterans there, and I go, wow, this is, I'm choking up right now just thinking about it.
And I don't think I've ever met a veteran from that time who's not extremely humble, and they don't talk about it, and
That's right.
and they're not looking for accolades. They had a job to do, and they did it, and the admiration and the respect that you have for these men is, well, for me, I talk for myself, is incredible.
Yeah.
I know how many times in my life I've done good things, and I'm looking for a pat on the back, and it pales in comparison to what they did for our country.
No doubt about it.
There's absolutely nothing that can
Can't top
compare
that.
to people who have served our country and served in war, because that just is something that nobody else can comprehend, I don't believe, unless they've actually been there and been, in the military, in the war. Certainly the military itself is hard enough to serve in and difficult enough to be able to conform to all the requirements that I hear about. But then to actually have to be out there, either in the ocean or in the sky or in a field somewhere where guns are going off all the time, that has to be the most horrifying thing. You have to have such a strong mind and have such incredibly strong training to be able to withstand that and be able to come back. Now that is a true change, and I know that one of the things that I think about as somebody who's very supportive of people who serve in the military, but I think about the brotherhood that exists, and the brotherhood because it's really, or sisterhood that exists. I had my great aunt also served as a nurse during World War II in France. So that sisterhood or that brotherhood that people have from having that common experience, from working to support one another, that is something that I think is maybe not forgotten by the people who live through and still understand that brother or sisterhood, but I think it's maybe not recognized as much by the general population.
I had the privilege of having lunch 2 years ago with Jimmy Cardiel. He was 101 years old, and he was telling me about his time in the Philippines, and then when they sent him over to Japan right after they dropped the bomb. And the things that he remembered so clearly.
Wow.
And then last year, when Veterans Day, I had, again, the privilege of talking with Jack Carchidi, who's 104.
Yeah.
And I said to both of them, "Were you scared?" And they both said, "Sure, I was scared, but I had a job to do."
Yeah.
And you don't, if you're going to let fear paralyze you, you can't think, you can't act, you can't do anything. So yes, I was scared, but I had something that I had to do, and it's good to know that because. You're human.
Yeah, I was thrilled to see those guys at Veterans Day.
Yeah, we just lost Jimmy last year.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So Jimmy's gone.
Yeah, well,
and, Jack is still with us, as far as I know. Tom Rickier has been to see him, and we would love to have him come out to the Legion, but his granddaughter takes care of him, and we let her call the shots because she understands his limitations better than we do.
I just had another story that doesn't pertain to me personally, but when I was a young man, I read a book called Catcher in the Rye.
I remember
by,
that.
J.D. Salinger.
Sure.
And there was a movie about J.D. Salinger. It came out 10 years ago, and I think I heard the story before. But he was in World War II in Europe, and he carried around he wrote that book on I don't know, legal paper or something. It was a pad. He kept writing and writing. He carried that with him in his pack all the way through the war.
Wow.
And he wrote that book during the war. That's what he did when he had a moment. And he were always in danger. He was always in danger. He would sit there, and that's what got him through. And he wrote that incredible book. And if you ever get a chance to see that movie about J.D. Salinger and his his time in World War II and about the book that so many people read back in it was probably in the 50s,
right.
late 50s. I read it.
We're in high school in the 70s.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's one of the most popular books of all time.
Yeah.
Most popular novels, Catcher in the Rye, about Holden Caulfield.
Sure.
And it was he wrote that book while he was fighting in World War II. He had that in a backpack, and the world is probably a lot better off because he survived. Not just because of himself, but because of that incredible book. And his life was such a interesting life. I think he lived somewhere up in northern New England in a cabin out in the woods, sort of like Thoreau.
Wow.
And it was about his relationship with his publisher, and it was very interesting because he apparently was not an easy man to deal with, and he had been through an awful lot. But he knew a lot about life, and we could go on and on. I mean, this is the history of the United States. The history of the world, unfortunately, there's been a lot of wars.
Yes,
and a lot of men, especially, and women, have been to war, and a lot didn't come back. And we don't know it from personal experience, but you and I, Joe, know about what it's like to be in the military and have served with a lot of people. And it was for me, it was a much greater experience than I thought it was at the time I was going through it.
Right.
I can't say that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being with the guys and doing things, doing what we had to do, stateside.
Right.
Did that.
Right.
To be, supportive as we possibly could of everybody.
And one can question war. That's okay. But I do believe in my heart that there are times in history. Some wars are justifiable, some are not.
Oh, absolutely.
But there are times in history where someone has to step up and say, okay, you have gone far enough, and it's time for you to stop. I think of Adolf Hitler, for example.
Well, I think of that. I think everybody thinks of that.
And that certainly is a justification of us doing what we have to do to conquer evil.
That's right.
So I would like to bring up that point, but also I would like to be respectful of, the fact that this is a free country and people have the right to question things that go on. And yes, please enjoy your freedom, live your freedom, and know that this Memorial Day, when you come out to honor veterans, we are grateful for your support, and we are grateful for the fact that you share the human experience and the American experience with us, whether we agree on everything or not.
I want to just say that the idea of what has happened all the way through human history has helped us here in this country develop a democracy. I think the traumas of the different types of wars that were suffered in Europe, and then, of course, when we came here, all the different types of wars we suffered through with the Native Americans, with trying to address the horrible terror also of slavery, going through the Civil War, all of those things. And we'll be talking more and more about the war that we had to fight for our independence from England. But these kinds of things helped us evolve. And the fact of the matter is evolving into a democracy where we can thank the veterans, we can thank the people who gave their whole lives to this concept, this freedom that we have here, where we have three different types. We have an executive branch, we have a legislative congressional branch, we have a judiciary, we have these three balancing types of things in our governments. And we wouldn't really have that, I don't believe, if people hadn't watched where there is just one type of authoritarian control, a king or a fascist dictator like Hitler. Those types of things are the things that ultimately will create a war. And so we've been really lucky so far. And I think that those kinds of lessons have helped our brains evolve. And hopefully in other parts of the world, I think you've seen those democracies evolve in Europe and other places where they've had democracies and still do. So it's the kind of thing that we can't forget. But before I go on too long, we have to stop now for these messages that help support our wonderful show, and we thank our Denny Gates, for being great sponsors, and we will be right back after these messages. Welcome back, everyone. This is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and our very special guests this evening are Joe Tomanelli, who does so many great things here in Windham for the Greater Windham Veterans Council, and he's the chaplain for the Greater Windham Veterans Council. So tell us a little bit about what's going to happen Monday. Now, one thing I want to say is Memorial Day is coming very early this year.
It is. And First, we're hoping that Wayne Norman can convince Russ Murley that we don't need rain on Monday. And so I don't know if Wayne has waved his wand yet, but we hope that. Anyway, we will start Monday at the VFW Hall at 7 o'clock, where we will prepare ourselves for the pilgrimage. Which I have seen Dennis and Susan on for many years.
Especially Susan.
And we go to 9 cemeteries in the town of Windham and its boroughs, and we lay a flag at we lay a wreath at a flagpole, and we have a prayer and the playing of taps with the flag at half-mast and then raised to full-mast. And it is a very, very touching ceremony where, we're in the cemetery and we're seeing the names on the graves, and it brings to life the people who made the ultimate sacrifice. What is your experience, Susan?
Well, I've always been very, very honored because during that ceremony, during the where we go to the different cemeteries. And when we go to Windham Center, I've been asked and honored to be able to sometimes with Ernie Eldridge come and place the wreath on the World War II Veterans Memorial right there. And that's always something that I'm really feeling quite honored to be able to be part of the ceremony and recognize my father's service in the military. And while he didn't die right in action, he did die because of his service with cancer at the age of 33. So he, being in the Pacific Theater, where they were testing atomic bombs, where he helped clean up Pearl Harbor after the bombing, those are the kinds of things. He saw his friend go down in a ship that was next to his, that was bombed by a kamikaze pilot. And it was some of those things that I learned about primarily from his friends, because he was so young when he died. I was 5 years old, and my brother was 5 months old. But the doctor said back in the day, this is 1957, of course, that he probably became ill with cancer because of all the exposure to the different things during World War II.
Right, and we'll start, we start at the cemetery, I want to say it's the New Windham Cemetery over by Route 6. Mm-hmm. And for anyone who's never been on the pilgrimage, it really is very moving to be on the pilgrimage. But it's not something that you have to go to every cemetery for. There are always people waiting for us on Memorial Day at the cemetery closest to their house or the cemetery where one of their loved ones is buried. And, of course, we do the same ceremony at each cemetery. So it's something that if you can't do the whole thing, come to one. I encourage everyone to think about attending a pilgrimage. It really is almost like an awakening of what Memorial Day is all about.
Yes.
The parade is wonderful. The ceremony is very meaningful, and the people who come and But going on the pilgrimage is different.
I think it's a very excellent idea, and it really brings home the idea of what Memorial Day is about, and to be able to connect with people during the pilgrimage is something that is very, very good.
So we start at the new Willimantic Cemetery over Route 6, and then from there we go to the cemetery across the street from Stop and Shop. I am not versed in the names of the particular cemeteries, but from there we go to the South Wyndham, near the post office and the library. And from there we go over to a cemetery on Route
203.
203. And from there we go to Wyndham Center. After Wyndham Center we go to North Wyndham. After North Wyndham, we go to, I believe it's St. Joseph's Cemetery on
St. What is it? We used to be Cemetery Road.
Club Road.
On Club Road. Yep. And then from there we go to the I think it's the Ukrainian Cemetery. Near Builders Concrete.
Yep.
And then from there to the Greenway. So I think if someone were to question my numbers, they might be correct. I don't think that's 9. But anyway,
I think that's at least 9.
So if anyone is listening, and the words of Susan and Dennis and I are reaching you in some way, consider coming to the pilgrimage, even if it's just to a cemetery near your home.
Yes, I'd say that would be good, and people do come out from the neighborhood, like you said, and and then after that we have our. A short break, and then we have the march over to Memorial Park. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we assemble at Jillson Square at 10 o'clock, and that's near the community center. And this year we have, of course, we have the fire trucks, and we have the town fathers, and we have some of the young people coming. The Elks provide a color guard with their young group called the Antlers. And the Wyndham High School Band and Wyndham Middle School Band will be with us. And when we gather at Jillson Square or the community center, however you choose to look at it, we get ourselves in line, who's going first, who's going second. And then at 10:30, we will march off up the street to Memorial Park. And so some years ago, we used to do 1 year from Jillson to Memorial Park, and another year from Memorial Park to the Legion Hall, and that was a killer.
That was a long trek
for a lot of people.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
So we made the decision. The Veterans Council made the decision to just keep it from Jillson to Memorial Park. It's a much shorter walk. It's much easier for a lot of people. I believe it's also easier to find parking and to watch the parade from Main Street. And both the VFW and the American Legion get to participate in their own ways because we host the lunches afterwards. So we don't feel as if we took away from anything. We feel as if we made it, I want to say, simpler, easier, more accessible, so that people could enjoy the parade and not be concerned, well, which way is it this year and which way is it next year? And I think that consistency helps everyone.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that being able to say hi to people after the ceremonies and be able to have a little lunch and chat is a very nice thing. Also, who do you have as a speaker? You want to tell us a little bit about the speaker?
When we get together at Memorial Park at 11 o'clock, we start our ceremony. And each year we try and pick a veteran, if we can, from Wyndham or the surrounding towns. And this year we have a Marine Corps veteran and a Willimantic police officer, Saul Vasquez. And Saul is an extraordinary young man who has a real heart for people and service. And I believe that he represents the town of Wyndham with a great deal of pride, and we felt that it was an honor to ask him to be our speaker this year. So he has put together a speech about his growing up, where he grew up, and what led him to the military, and what led him to police work, and what led him to get a college degree as a first-generation college student in his family. And I think that anyone who listens to him speak will be quite impressed. He's an extraordinary young man.
Well, that's great. A great selection. Thank you so much for that. Tell us a little bit about the people who serve on the Greater Wyndham Veterans Council, starting with President Christopher Paulus.
Well, Chris Paulus is a United States Navy veteran. He served in the Gulf, and Chris is a man. He's quiet, but he's a man of great conviction, and he's a man of purpose, and I have to say, he knows a great deal about procedure because he leads our meetings with quite a bit of precision, and he keeps them moving. Our vice president is Thomas Rickier. Tom is the owner or his family owns T&M Billiards and patio furniture, and right down on Route 6, is it?
Yeah, I think he's on Route 6, yeah.
And Tom was a Marine Corps veteran in the 60s, and he served in the Canary Islands, and he was a very proud Marine. So he's a great addition to the Veterans Council, and also he has helped pull the American Legion out of the hole that they were in.
Yes.
So he was the person of strength that was needed at the time, and he and John Morin, who I'll talk about later, have done a wonderful job with that. Our secretary is Bill Woodbury, and Bill is the Veterans Advisor for the town of Wyndham. He helps people with the Soldiers and Sailors Funds, veterans who can get help with their mortgages or their rent payments, their oil bills, medical benefits. Bill is a treasure in town. I would say a little known treasure because he does not toot his own horn.
No, but he does great work. I have to toot his horn for him.
Yeah, not enough as far as I'm concerned, because he does so much.
Yeah. And when I worked at Legal Aid, I would work with Bill Woodbury, or Woody, we call him Woody Woodbury, to help out veterans with their medical problems, and also for him to be right on top of the Soldiers, Sailors, and Marines Fund and how to do those applications and be able to get temporary assistance. Connecticut's one of the only states that has a Soldiers, Sailors, and Marines Fund that was started in World War I with a penny tax on the cigarette, and has now been turned over to be managed by the American Legion. But Woody, or Bill, has been doing a great job with that. And I, of course, because of my father's involvement, one of the things I did in college was study the Soldiers, Sailors, and Marines Fund and help out with trying to give all that information to legal services as well.
Sure.
But I just had to throw that in there about.
She wrote a manual on it.
I wrote a manual on it, yes.
Wow. Back in her college days. I remember I was one of the lawyers there, and it was wow, it was very good.
Thank you.
Our treasurer is Ruth Ann Richards.
Yes,
Ruth Ann
Ruth
is not
great.
a veteran. She was not in the military, but she is a member of the American Legion Auxiliary. Yep. And she does a superb job of keeping the books for us, and has a lot of skill in that. We have elections every year, and this year I was elected chaplain, so I will be reading the prayers at the cemeteries and at the memorial this year. Chris Paulus will be the MC, and so that's I'm pretty happy to do whatever needs to be done at this point.
You certainly are very capable of doing whatever needs to be done.
Thank you.
And I just have to say, you also have been great with leading the band and music and that sort of thing. You have a great background with music.
And I enjoyed being a music teacher for almost 40 years, and it was an adventure. We have a couple senior advisees. Dan Arnini. Dan is a sensei. He has his own business of teaching people karate and kung fu and martial arts, and he is a Navy veteran. John Morin, who is now the commander of the American Legion was a Marine Corps veteran, and he is following in Tom's footsteps, doing a good job and continuing to bring the American Legion back. They're up. I think they're up at least 40 or 50 members from where they were when they started.
Wonderful.
And Wyndham's own Gary Pomo.
Yep.
Gary's one of the senior advisors, and Gary was responsible for the Agent Orange Memorial. He got that going. Right. He raised the money for it. He was in charge of the installation, and because of Gary, we had our first Vietnam Memorial Day last year, and that was a great honor. And Gary was the first one to put the wreath at the Agent Orange Memorial. Mm-hmm. And finally, Saul Vasquez, who again he comes to our meetings. And he is a welcomed addition to the Veterans Council. We hope that he'll stay. You never know what some of these young bucks where they're gonna be off to, but we enjoy having him with us. And of course, Bob Dominic Jr. continues to support us, although he's out of town on business a lot, so we don't see him as much as we'd like. And that makes up our Veterans Council. Now, that being said, if there are veterans out there who are listening, we're always looking for new people, as are most groups who are volunteer-led. And if you have a desire to serve veterans, this is a wonderful group in Windham. And the town of Windham is a very, very supportive town of veterans and veterans events. I grew up in a town that I never knew about the events. I don't know whether it was supposed to be a secret but in Windham it's not a secret. It's something that is well known and well supported. And if so, are there any people who want to get involved in the Windham Veterans Council? You can call Bill Woodbury at 860-450-2106, extension 3006, and Bill can inform you as to how you could get involved on the Windham Veterans Council. You can also join the American Legion by contacting the American Legion on Bricktop Road, and there's information about that, as well as the VFW, which is, I know it used to be 1415 Main Street, but it's not that anymore since the land sale. But if there are people out there who want to join, who want to get involved, please look up those service organizations and let us hear from you. We would love to have more people involved. We would love to see these organizations grow and the legacy live on, because everybody takes their turn. And Bill is 80, Gary's 80, Tom's 80. We need people.
Yeah. Well, tell us about when you meet. How often do you meet, and where do you meet? And
the Greater Windham Veterans Council meets September, October, and November, and in which time we then put on the Veterans Day Parade. And then we meet February, March, April, and May. So it's not an all-year commitment. And we meet on Sundays at 11 o'clock, and it varies between the VFW and the American Legion. But we meet for probably an hour, and we discuss the Veterans Day and Memorial Day and other things of maintenance of Memorial Park, suggestions we might have, advice to the town about things that veterans would be concerned with. So it's an opportunity to have a say in what is good for veterans, what is helpful for veterans, and what is useful and helps the town to recognize and support the needs that we have. And without this organization, they wouldn't know what needs to be done, what needs to be recognized. So the Veterans Council is a terrific place to come and have a say. And the thing that's terrific about it is it represents the different organizations. It's not It's not its own thing. So there are people from the Legion, people from Disabled American Veterans, people from AMVETS, and people from VFW. So it gives everyone a chance to come together, everyone a chance to have a say, and it has been a wonderful privilege for me to be a part of it for so many years, and I look forward to those years to come.
Wonderful. Well,
It's an umbrella organization, just as I figured.
What's that?
It's an umbrella organization.
Yes, it is.
I mean, that's the way to best describe it. And that's exactly what I thought. And now we only have 2 minutes left, so we want to talk again about, the most important topic of the day, and that's Memorial Day on Monday, the 25th of May. And take it from the start. Take it from the top. Joe Tomanelli.
So this Memorial Day, Monday, May 25th, 2026, we will start with a pilgrimage that departs from the VFW Hall near Dollar General, and we'll meet at 7 o'clock, and we will depart from there to the different cemeteries in Windham. And we usually finish between 9 and 9:30, so that gives everyone, as Susan said, the time to have a little bit of break, maybe a cup of coffee, a donut. And at 10 o'clock, we assemble at Jillson Square. Now, that's convenient because we end at the Greenway, which is right across from Jillson Square. So at Jillson Square, we will assemble, and everyone will get their assignment as to where they are in the marching order. At 10:30, we step off and march from Jillson Square up Main Street to Memorial Park, which is near Dairy Queen. And at 11 o'clock, we have a ceremony, which Christopher Paulus will be the MC, and Saul Vasquez will be the guest speaker. And we are looking forward to seeing everyone who can make it. Calling all veterans, come out, be recognized. Calling all Windham townspeople. Continue to do the awesome job you do of showing up for us. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much, Joe Tomanelli. I know I'll be there on Memorial Day, starting out with the pilgrimage. And we are going to say thank you to our Veterans Council. Thank you to those who served and gave their lives. And thank you to the families who lost their members of their families. So those people will also be recognized. This is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and our very, very special guest this evening, Joe Tomanelli, who has been a great leader for our Greater Windham Veterans Council.